Nickelodeon was kid everything, but that marked one of the darkest chapters. These are three predators who worked at Nickelodeon. You get comfortable with people until you're not.
It made me wonder who was being hurt.
Have you ever told your story publicly before?
Quiet on Set, an ID true crime event.
Okay, so I've been wanting to talk about this documentary because it's been posted everywhere and it's super disturbing. I watched part of it the other day. I haven't completely finished it. I wanted to find somewhere to stream it and see if we could do like a reaction and upload it here. But I'm still working on that. So I just wanted to bring you some clips and to kind of discuss it a little bit. It was honestly, the part that I did watch, really hard to get through because these people in this documentary were just children, and it really breaks my heart. I'll honestly never understand parents who just like drop their kids off to other people just because they're famous or they might be famous or I don't know, for a check. It's weird to me. After seeing this, I don't even want my kids to have a YouTube channel anymore because it's weird. Let's get into some clips and talk about it.
Did anyone else watch Quiet on Set and realize that everything's making sense now? I'm sure you guys already saw the disturbing clips of Ariana Grande, but there was also this one by Jeanette McCurdy that she posted on her Vines a while ago.
Hey, Dan Schneider, I know you're watching my Vine. Do you like my Vine? Vine. Look what you've done to me.
And the people who were brave enough to speak out in this documentary made Dan Schneider shake in his boots because he released an interview the very next day.
Is there anything you'd like to start off with?
Absolutely. Watching over the past 2 nights was very difficult. Me facing my past behaviors, some of which are embarrassing and that I regret. And I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology.
Let's talk about the massages.
Okay.
Watching the content yesterday, it was disturbing.
It was wrong. It was wrong that I ever put anybody in that position.
There's a lot of controversy over Drake because of his own scandal, but like I said earlier, it just all makes sense now.
I was sleeping on the couch where I would usually sleep, and I woke up to him I just opened my eyes, I woke up, and he was and I froze and was in complete shock and had no idea what to do or how to react. You know, he's so apologetic. Oh, this will never happen again. I'm so sorry. You know, that I don't know what got into me, and I crossed the line, and this will never happen again. And well, he figured out how to convince my mom and everyone around to have me, you know, anytime I would have an audition or anytime I needed to work on dialogue or anything, I somehow ended up back at Brian's house.
So in the documentary, I remember this one part, and it was Drake's dad talking about how he was his manager and how Brian Peck was like super weird on set. He was like touchy-feely to Drake and like kind of inappropriate, and he had made comments about it before. Then for whatever reason, Drake's mom was going to be taking over the management, and Drake's dad really didn't want him to, didn't want her to, but he didn't really have a say in the matter. So then as he's handing over all the management stuff to Drake's mom, he's like, for no circumstances should Brian Peck be around Drake at any time. And Drake's mom was like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, no, I'm serious. Like, do not let them be alone together. I don't trust him, whatever. And of course, his mom just totally ignores that advice. And here Drake is saying he's spending the night there and he's getting RIPE. Like, it's just heartbreaking.
Just on cloud 9. We as parents were not allowed back on the set. We were greeted by a production assistant, Jason Handy, who guided all the kids to where they need to be. Jason looked like the all-American boy next door. Very charismatic, very charming. When he wasn't on set with the kids, Jason would come out and talk with all the moms.
So this pervert apparently got caught because he was sending pictures and videos of himself to little girls on set, and they ended up doing an investigation and found some diary, journal, whatever, that he had written in himself, describing himself as a full-blown PEDO. Now, this is one of 3 people who are clearly violent offenders, abusers of children, working at an all-kids TV network. And, like, some of these clips of the kids and what they were doing on these episodes is disturbing, and I just can't understand their parents allowing them to be there.
Us, what our families were like. You thought, oh, I could be friends with this person. On the drive home, Brandy was very excited. She said Jason started exchanging numbers with the kids and the parents, and Jason wants to email. She thought, oh, this is somebody else on the set that seemed to be so nice, and she would have a friend in the industry. I thought, oh, this is going well. I was so happy I was the parent that could give my child what she
Sorry, I just have to pause it again. I just have to say, I know that people think it's no harm and it's a dream come true to get your kid in Hollywood or an acting role, but really think about it. Like, how many child stars that become a big deal have come out of it unscathed? Truly, how many? Or how many celebrities in general? Like, I've talked to a few people in Hollywood, in the scene myself, and honestly, all of them just seem depressed, sad, and lonely. And I think that it's so overhyped, and everyone wants to have the world looking at them until they have the world looking at them. And it's just, these kids end up having no childhood, and it's truly sad, the trauma that they experience and go through just for these paychecks. There's nothing more important than a healthy, happy childhood, and there's no amount of money you could ever pay to get that back.
in life. About a week after she was on that episode, there was an email from Jason. She let me read it, and it was a very innocent email. It just talked about the shows that he'd been working on. After that, they were emailing more. She would tell me, oh, I got an email from Jason. He's doing this, he's doing that. I didn't see any harm in it. A couple months later, she was sitting at the computer, and all of a sudden I noticed she had suddenly shut down the computer completely and got up and ran into her bedroom and slammed the bedroom door shut. And I said, Brandy, what is wrong? She started to cry, and she said, I got an email from Jason. It was a picture of him naked, masturbating. And he said he had sent it to her because he wanted her to see that he was thinking of her. I went back and forth with, should I call the police?
I'm sorry. What? Like, what kind of response is this? My only back and forth would be, do I call the police or do I delete this person from the face of existence myself? Those would be my only back and forth. Do I completely erase this person from existence, or do I just let them go to jail? How do you not protect your child like this? Like, oh, she's just emailing with a grown man. There's no harm. I'm getting a paycheck from it. She's getting clout. We're celebrities. Like, I don't understand how this is not a problem. There is nothing on the face of the earth I wouldn't do to protect someone I loved, let alone in a situation like this. You're questioning. Should I call the police? Are you effing dumb? If you don't, like, oh, I'm just going to keep my daughter away from her. Like, are you stupid? You're a jerk. Because clearly if he's doing it with her, he's doing it to other people. You're a jerk and a horrible parent, in my opinion. Let's continue.
They're going to think I'm a bad parent because I allowed her to talk to this person I struggle with this, and I finally told myself, I can't call the police. All I can do is make sure I keep her far away from him.
I feel so sorry for the woman who was this little girl, because her parents did not protect her, the industry didn't protect her, and she's living with whatever trauma that happened to her. So all of these really uncomfortable videos have been resurfacing since this documentary of when Ariana was on Nickelodeon, and the videos are super uncomfortable. Like, one of them, she's putting her toe in her mouth. Another one, she's saying how she's gonna juice a potato and like just making really uncomfortable sounds. And another one, she's like laying on her back and pouring water all over her face, and just stuff that's really inappropriate. And it makes me wonder, as a parent of a child, how would you not freak out seeing that? Like, there's no way you could put my kid in a position like that and I'm not going to lose it. I just don't understand, and it seems like abuse to me, but hey.
Did that air on Nickelodeon?
Give up the juice!
Yikes.
I'm thirsty!
In another video, Ariana's pouring water on herself in what seems like a very sexual manner. And people started saying, this feels inappropriate for children.
Looking at Dan Schneider's stars, some of them became extremely famous. Some of them really struggled publicly
After her arrest last week.
Now, some of them are starting to speak out about what happened when they were on his sets.
I worked with an incredibly emotionally abusive producer.
I did not feel safe around Dan Schneider while I was working at Nickelodeon.
All of this information has made us wonder what was happening behind the scenes.
As a reporter and insider, I wanted to investigate further.
I've been waiting for someone to question the climate. It's been a long time coming.
I didn't feel safe to say this hurt me.
The bad just doesn't go away. The bad stays for a lifetime.
Exactly that. The bad doesn't go away. The bad stays for a lifetime. That kind of trauma that these kids are experiencing doesn't just go away. There was this one part where Drake was saying in the documentary about how he experienced some of the most amazing things in his life, and going to these incredible places and events and money and fame and all of it. And he just said he couldn't actually enjoy it because of the trauma he felt inside, because of what had happened to him and what was continuing to happen to him. So people need to stop focusing on material gain so much and really protect their children and themselves, because none of this stuff is worth it. A lot of these people end up spiraling like Amanda Bynes and so many others just because of the trauma that they endured as children and never getting an actual childhood. And I've been crying watching this documentary. Like, it's heartbreaking.
It was a toxic, unsafe environment.
I can't sit on it anymore. I can't watch it continue.
I want people to be accountable.
I've been waiting 17 years for today.
Dan and Amanda had a close relationship, and I didn't think anything different than that. The hot tub scene, though, I thought was always a little odd.
When you watch the video, it's Amanda Bynes, clearly very young, wearing a swimsuit in a hot tub, and next to her is Dan Schneider, fully clothed.
It's honestly so crazy seeing these clips from The Amanda Show, because growing up, The Amanda Show was one of my absolute favorite shows. My name is Mandy, and my best friend's name was Amanda, and we used to sit on the phone every single time it came on and just silently on the phone watch the show together and just laugh, and we loved it. And I guess that's why he got away with it for so long, because it was a kids network. Like, not a lot of parents were watching it like that, and kids don't really know what's appropriate and what's not when they're young. They're just watching a show, right? They're not thinking anything of it. Just like when you look back at the songs you used to sing and you're like, wow, that was super disturbing that I was 9 years old singing that song. But that's when your parents need to be more involved and see what you're doing, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're getting involved in, the friends you're hanging around. Like, Amanda Bynes just, it's one of the saddest stories.
And he's kind of saying, I created the situation. I am the reason we are in this hot tub. I am pulling the strings.
Now, since you're the executive producer of the show, fire rights.
No. Maybe at the time, people viewed it as comedy, but I think now some people are very uncomfortable with the implication.
For me, looking back at the Amanda show is really a kind of sad and strange experience. Knowing that as years went on, Amanda and Dan's relationship would take a turn for the worse. It is also bittersweet to watch, knowing what the women were dealing with behind the scenes. He became a worse and worse person to work for.
Dan called me at home and he asked me if I was conspiring against the company. Because if I find out that you did, you're never going to work for Nickelodeon again. It'd be so funny, just do it, it'd be so funny. And everyone's kind of laughing too, because he's making it like this big joke. She couldn't get out of it, you know, he's begging her. So she just leaned over the table and did what I asked her to do.
Do you remember Dan asking you to act out the sodomite?
Yeah. I'd rather not. I mean, it's not that I'm not proud of it, and I'm also like, ugh, thinking about it now. Yeah, it's like, oh boy,
I'm just in glam and the limelight, and oh, you have the best career, and it's all fine and great. They don't know what these kids went.
Exactly what she said. They think it's all glitz and glam and living the life, but nobody knows what these kids went through. And you can't blame these kids for growing up and having issues. Like, nobody is meant to not have a childhood and then be traumatized on top of it and not protected by their parents. So sad.
I was sleeping on the couch where I would usually sleep, and I woke up to him. I just opened my eyes, I woke up, and he was sexually assaulting me. And I froze and was in complete shock and had no idea what to do or how to react. And I have no idea how to get out of the situation. I couldn't run outside, have my I mean, I just, what am I, call my mom and be like, hey, this just happened, can you come pick me up? I'll just sit here.
Again, what enrages me about this is when this kid's dad was his manager, he kept him safe. But as soon as his mom became his manager, she was like, oh, it's too far to drive. Just stay the night at that Brian Peck guy's house and he'll drive you back in the morning. And then he wakes up and he's assaulted. Like, his mom is evil. That's disgusting. A horrible, horrible parent. And I can't imagine the pain and shame and trauma that this kid feels. And I heard that he actually turned into someone who was abusing young people himself. So the cycle continues. Like, it's so fucked.
I had no car, I didn't drive. I was 15 at this time. And so it just became this secret that I had held on to. And it became, I couldn't say I no longer wanted to go to Brian's house, because then they're going to raise questions. Well, why don't you want to go to Brian's? And then, he's so apologetic. Oh, this will never happen again. I'm so sorry. That I don't know what got into me, and I crossed the line, and this will never happen again. And well, he figured out how to convince my mom and everyone around to have me, anytime I would have an audition or anytime I needed to work on dialogue or anything, I somehow ended up back at Brian's house.
So this is one of the stories that stuck out to me the most in the documentary. Well, the parts that I watched anyway. And they were talking about how every summer they would have like these little barbecues and gatherings at Brian Peck's house, who's one of the producers, and also the guy who assaulted Drake. And they're talking about how he had like this shrine to Planet of the Apes, and I think it was Drake who went in there and was like, oh, what is this poster? Like, this isn't Planet of the Apes. And it was a clown holding balloons, something like this. And he's like, oh, this is John Wayne Gacy. We're friends. And it said on the back of the poster, like, oh, to my friend, Brian Peck, I hope you enjoy this. And he's like, oh, yeah, look at this. And pulls out a drawer by his bed full of letters with John Wayne Gacy, because they're freaking pen pals. And John Wayne Gacy was hurting little boys, and he was a murderer and stuff. And like, I'm just so shocked at all of these insane children abusers that are working in a children's network, and how parents actually saw those pictures too and like, oh yeah, it's nothing. Like, this guy's friends with this serial killer and he's around your children. What the actual F is wrong with you? I'll never understand. Probably gonna do more about this. Tell me what you guys think.